Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another video. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you'll be updated on all my future content. So this live stream, titled Fraction Satisfaction, is going to consist of 4 parts. Part 1, we are adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. So I'm going to get right into that. Then once part 1's done, I'll announce what part 2 is. So adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators, very simple. Step 1, you add your numerators, aka the top numbers. So what is 2 plus 1? 2 plus 1 equals 3. Step 2, you keep the denominator the same. So when the denominator is the same for both the fractions that you're adding or subtracting, you keep it the same in your answer. So the denominator for both of these fractions is 5. 2/5 plus 1/5 equals 3/5. 8/9 minus 1/9. Step 1, we subtract our numerators. 8 minus 1 equals 7. Step 2, we keep our denominator the same. The denominator is 9 for both fractions that are being subtracted. So it's going to be 9 in our answer. 8/9 minus 1/9 equals 7/9. All right, 2 more example problems for that. All right, we have 7/10 plus 2/10. Step 1, we add our numerators. 7 plus 2 equals 9. Step 2, we keep our denominator the same. The denominator is 10 for both fractions that are being added, so it's going to be 10 in our answer. All right, next example problem, we're subtracting fractions here. 8/10 minus 2/10. Step 1, subtract our numerators. 8 minus 2 equals 6. Step 2, we keep our denominator the same. Eight tenths minus 2/10 equals 6/10. All right. Next problem. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Please hit the like button. I appreciate you. Appreciate everybody that's here. 8/11 plus 1/11. Eight plus 1 equals 9. And our denominator stays the same. So it's just like adding whole numbers, except whatever the denominator, whatever the bottom number is, we keep it the same. All right, subtraction problem now. 11/12 minus 7/12. And no, we're not going to reduce to lowest terms in this video. We're just going to adding, subtracting fractions. We're going to save reducing fractions to lowest terms for another video. 11 minus 7 equals 4. We keep our denominator the same. 11/12 minus 7/12 equals 4/12. All right, final set of fractions. And even with improper fractions, the steps are still the same. Step 1, we add our numerators. 7 plus 2 equals 9. And we keep our denominator the same. 7/4 plus 2/4 equals 9/4. Steps don't change even when the top number is bigger. All right, 5/8 minus 2/8. 5 minus 2 equals 3. And we keep our denominator the same. (5/8) minus 2/8 equals 3/8. All right, part two of the live stream. We are now going to be adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. So 5/8 plus 1/6. Now we can't keep the denominator the same here because the denominator is not the same. So step one, it ends up being step one. Eventually we'll be able to do the same thing, but not explaining it that well. Step one, we have to find a common denominator. Once we find a common denominator, it'll just be like adding and subtracting fractions with like denominators. But step one, we have to combine like terms. We have to find a common denominator for our two separate denominators. So one good way to do that is to use the butterfly method. So what we're going to do is we are going to cross multiply. We're going to multiply the numerator times the opposite denominator. So 5 times 6 equals 30. 8 times 1 equals 8. And to find our common denominator, we have to multiply 8 times 6. So 8 times 6 equals 48. So 48 is our common denominator. Usually I find the common denominator first. I kind of flip-flopped it for this one. But if we want to write the full problem out so it's not confusing, we have 30 48ths plus 8 48ths. Now that we have like terms and a common denominator, we can just add our numerators and keep our denominator the same. So 30 plus 8 equals 38. And the denominator is going to stay 48. So 8/5 plus 1/6 equals 38 48ths. All right, next example problem. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Please hit the like button. It really helps the algorithm. We have 9/10 minus 1/2. So step one, we want to find a common denominator, and we do that simply by multiplying our two different denominators. So 10 times 2 equals 20. So 20 is our common denominator. Then to find our new numerators, we have to multiply each numerator times the opposite denominator. So we're going to multiply 9 times 2. 9 times 2 equals 18. One times 10 equals 10. So now we have 18/20ths minus 10/20ths. If we want to write that out, 18/20ths minus 10/20ths. (18 minus 10 equals 8. We keep our denominators the same. And we have our final answer. 18/20 minus 10/20 equals 8/20. Now this answer can be reduced to lowest terms. As I said before, I want to keep that. Usually I keep the reducing fractions to lowest terms for a separate video. But since this is the fraction satisfaction live stream, I'll actually reduce. I actually will reduce it to lowest terms here. So what you do is you want to divide your numerator and your denominator by the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor between 8 and 20 is 4. So 8 divided by 4, 20 divided by 4. 8 divided by 4 equals 2. 20 divided by 4 equals 5. So our answer in lowest terms would be 2/5. 9/10 minus 1/2 equals 8/20. 8/20 reduced to lowest terms is equal to 2/5. All right, moving on to part 3. Part 3 of the live stream is multiplying fractions. Multiplying fractions. So we have 1/2 times 3/12. Now the difference between multiplying fractions and adding and subtracting fractions is the denominator actually does change. When you're adding and subtracting fractions, if they have like denominators, you keep the bottom number the same. When you multiply fractions, you don't do that. You actually multiply both the top and the bottom. So step 1, we multiply our numerators. 1 times 3 equals 3. Step 2, we multiply our denominators. 2 times 12 equals 24. And we have our final answer. 1/2 times 3/12 equals 3/24. Not reduced to lowest terms. But for this part of the live stream, what I'll do is I'll do a bunch of multiplying fractions problems, and then one of them, I'll do about 5 of these, and then the final multiplying fractions problem that I do, or out of the 5, I'll choose one to actually reduce to lowest terms. All right, 4/5 times 1/6. That's the next one. 4 times 1 equals 4. 5 times 6 equals 30. 4/5 times 1/6 equals 4/30. All right, next example, next multiplying fractions example. Three ninths times 1/2. Three times 1 equals 3. 9 times 2 equals 18. All right, another example problem here. 4/7 times 5/9. 4 times 5 equals 20. 7 times 9 equals 63. All right, final multiplying fractions problem. 7/8 times 3/4. Seven times 3 equals 21. 8 times 4 equals 32. 7/8 times 3/4 equals 21, 30 seconds. Shout out to the person that just put the answer in the chat. Great job following along. All right, now I will choose one of these multiplying fractions problems to reduce to lowest terms. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a fraction by the toe. That was corny. I'm sorry. I don't know why I just started doing that. Let me just pick one. Okay. 3/24 I'm going to reduce to lowest terms. So I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator in 3/24 by the greatest common factor. The greatest common factor in 3 equals 3. So we're going to do 3 divided by 3 to find out our new numerator. Then we are going to do 24 divided by 3. Somebody just put an answer in the chat. We're going to see if they're correct. So 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 24 divided by 3 equals 8. Shout out to the people that put the answer in the chat. 3/24 reduced to lowest terms is equal to 1/8. All right, moving on now to part 4 of the fraction satisfaction live stream. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Please share this video. Subscribe if you have not already. And remember to hit the like button because it helps the algorithm. So dividing fractions is basically multiplying fractions with an extra step in the beginning. So let's say we have 5/6 divided by 1/2. So what we're going to do is we are going to step 1. It's kind of 3 small steps in one, but keep changing flips. So we're going to keep 5/6. The first fraction stays the same. Then we're going to change the division sign is going to change to a multiplication sign. Then the second fraction in the problem, we are going to flip it. So the denominator, the bottom number, is going to become the numerator, and the numerator is going to become the denominator. And now from here, it's basically a multiplying fractions problem. We multiply 5 times 2. 5 times 2 equals 10. 6 times 1 equals 6. And our answer is 10/6. 10/6. All right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate you being here. Shout out to everybody that hit the like button. Next dividing fractions problem. Two-thirds divided by 1/4. God bless everybody here. I appreciate you all. Step 1, we keep 2/3 the same. Step 2, we change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Step 3, we flip. Our denominator becomes our numerator, and our numerator becomes our denominator. So now it's basically changed into a multiplying fractions problem. 2 times 4 equals 8. 3 times 1 equals 3. And we have our final answer, 2/3 divided by 1/4 equals 8/3. All right, next dividing fractions problem. Probably do 2 more and then we'll call it a video. Three-fourths divided by 7/8. So step 1, we keep our first fraction the same. Step 2, we change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Step 3, we flip. Our denominator becomes our numerator, and our numerator becomes our denominator. And now, from here, we multiply. 3 times 8 equals 24. 4 times 7 equals 28. And we have our final answer. 3/4 divided by 7/8 equals 24/28. Now that fraction can be reduced. It's not in lowest terms. After I do the final dividing fractions problem, I'll pick one of these to reduce to lowest terms, and then we'll call it a video. All right, 1/2 divided by 9/10. Step 1 we keep, 1/2 stays the same. Step 2, we change the division sign to a multiplication sign. Step 3, we flip. Our denominator becomes our numerator, and our numerator becomes our denominator. So now we have 1/2 times 10/9. 1 times 10 equals 10. 2 times 9 equals 18. And we have our answer. Our answer, 1/2 divided by 9/10 equals 10/18. All right, so one of these two final dividing fractions problems I am going to put in lowest terms. So the first dividing, put a 1 in the chat if you want me to reduce the first dividing fractions problem. Put a 2 in the chat if you want me to reduce the second dividing fractions problem. You tell me which one you want me to reduce to lowest terms. So 1 for the first dividing fractions problem, 2 for the second dividing fractions problem. So if you want to see me reduce the answer to 3/4 divided by 7/8 to lowest terms, you put a 1 in the chat. If you want to see me reduce the answer to 1/2 divided by 9/10 into lowest terms, you put a 2 in the chat. At about the 23-minute and 5-second mark, if I don't get any response from the chat, I'll make the decision. But again, it's 1 in the chat for 3/4 divided by 7/8. 2 in the chat for 1/2 divided by 9/10. You're deciding which one you want me to reduce to lowest terms. All right, I'm going to select that. I'm actually going to do the first one. So 3/4 divided by 7/8 equals 24/28. Though that is technically the correct answer, it is not in lowest terms. We can reduce 24/28 to lowest terms by dividing the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor between 24 and 28 is 4. So we're going to do 24 divided by 4 and 28 divided by 4 to get our new numerator and our new denominator. (24 divided by 4 equals 6. 28 divided by 4 equals 7. And we have our final answer. So 3/4 divided by 7/8 equals 24/28. 3/4 divided by 7/8 in lowest terms would be 6/7. All right, that is my video for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the video. And if there is an area of math or reading you're having difficulty with, put that in the comments and I will do a future video on that skill. Until next time, this is Mr. Camilleri signing off.